大家好，我叫安迪，非常感谢你们给我一个机会来介绍我的教学方法，我感到很荣幸。下面我的课程正式开始。And today's topic will be purchasing and supply relations. This lecture will be taught as if it were one of a semester long of classes, and we'll start from there. Okay, so purchasing fits into the realm of supply chain management, and this is an example of a supply chain, part of the supply chain anyway. So first we have second-tier suppliers, then first-tier suppliers. We have our operation, the operation we're concerned with, and then we have first-tier customers and second-tier customers. Okay, and what we're going to be most interested in today with the purchasing lecture is to do with first-tier suppliers, first-tier customers, okay? And we'll talk about many aspects of the supply chain in regards to that. So to make this a little bit more clear, we'll take an example now of second-tier suppliers, first-tier suppliers in the supply chain. One example might be a bike wheel, a bicycle wheel. So on a bike wheel, you have a rim, you have a hub, you have spokes, you have spoke nipples where they attach. Okay, you have a tire, and you have a tube inside where you pump up, where you put air into the tire. Okay, so each one of these things, and let's say that we are the operation and we want to bring together the parts that make this wheel possible. So we want to purchase these parts. So in the supply chain, we would have the second-tier suppliers would be the people supplying the steel, the people supplying the aluminum, and the rubber, and those sort of things, okay? So you have these sort of second-tier suppliers, and then they go to the spokes. We have spoke nipples, which are these things again, the thing that attaches the spoke to the rim. We have the rim, we have the hub, okay, and we have the tire, and last but not least we have the tube. Okay, so in order to produce this particular wheel, we need to bring all these things together. And how that's done is through purchasing. Okay, so the first-tier supplier would be the steel that goes into the spoke, the aluminum that goes into the spoke nipples, the aluminum that goes into the rim, the rubber that goes into the tires, and the tubes. And you'll also have overlap. So steel could also go into the tire, into the tubes. Or aluminum could go into the hub, and it might be partly steel as well. So you'll have several different aspects of first-tier suppliers, and you'll have overlap within those suppliers, okay? So then we have all of our components, and all of these come together at our operation, okay? And this is where we bring everything together. We bring the spokes, the spoke nipples, the rims, the tires, everything comes together, and we assemble the part, and maybe our value added is nothing more than bringing the parts together and assembling them and then shipping it to somewhere else, okay? So we've got this, and so our first-tier suppliers would be the bicycle manufacturers. So we send a completed wheel to several different bike manufacturers. I think the biggest one in the world is in Beijing that I read. It was 45 million bicycles per year that they produced. It's a lot of bicycles, it's a lot of bike tires. That's 90 million bike wheels, okay? So they don't produce all those themselves necessarily, though. They might outsource that to an operation such as displayed here. Okay? And those manufacturers usually don't sell directly to the customer. They'll go through a retail outlet. Okay? So they can, and this operation could potentially also go to a retail outlet. Okay? So it could go direct to the customer, but usually it will go to these manufacturers, because that's where the bulk buying is and all that sort of thing. And then they will go to the retail or the next person in the supply chain. Okay? And this could be a broker to send them overseas. It could be several different things. So basically what a supply chain is taking, it's the entire process of procuring or purchasing materials and delivering them and putting everything in the right place at the right time, from raw material all the way to the finished good, all the way to the final consumer. Okay? So that's just the bike example, the bike wheel example. I'm not a very good artist, but I think you can understand how it sort of fits into it. So today what we'll focus on will be the operation and these contacts here. Okay? So the first tier of purchasing and the relationships within those purchasing agreements. Okay? A little bit more detail on the purchasing process. So you have suppliers, the people you buy from. You have the purchasing function, what you're the buyer of your company that's actually doing, and you have the internal operation. Okay? So that is the buyer's collaboration, or when the buyer works with other parts of the organization. Okay? So what generally happens is somebody else in the operation, maybe marketing, maybe research and development, R&D, gets a request, comes up with a new product. They've got a great idea, they want to go through with it, and they need some parts. So they'll request the product for the products and services, and they'll send that request to the purchasing department. The purchasing department will then prepare requests for quotations, which they will send out to suppliers. Several suppliers, and after a little bit, the suppliers get back to them with their quotes. They go through another process, which we'll talk more about later, and they select the preferred supplier. Okay? And in some cases that might be one supplier, in some cases it might be multiple suppliers. It depends on the organization's strategy. Okay? And when they're deciding when the purchasing department is deciding who to select as a supplier, they're also working with the operations group. Because once they've purchased those materials, the purchasing group sort of steps back, and the operations has to deal with the day-to-day use of those materials. Okay? So they collaborate or work with the operations department, and then they prepare the purchasing department again prepares the purchase order, sends it over to the suppliers. They produce the goods, ship the goods to the organization, and that's it. Okay? There are several different types of relationships, which we'll go through later, and we'll get down into sort of what happens in between these steps as well. So our agenda for today. Our agenda for today will cover relationships with the suppliers first, and then supply-based structures, supplier development,